All right, friends, it's hot and cold time here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Welcome to the show. I'm Dan Bespris. Still, same old guy, same old man. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Bespris, DANBESBRIS, Old Man Squad. If you are on the Blue Sky Network, it does feel like that's slowed down in its takeover, but that's why I'm just trying to cross-post everything. Just trying to cross-post. Anybody that's anywhere, do my best to try to reach you. That's the least we can do. Hot and cold for those uninitiated is where we go through the board and find the players that moved up or down the most over the last week. This one, it was 8 days. We waited a little bit longer, so we actually had that nice full-throated Thursday to talk about as well. This will not include the results of Friday night because this show is being recorded while the games are just about getting going. But I think you guys will get the general idea. Also, once we go through all 47, heaven help us, names that have been flying up and down the board, really considering there weren't that many games, guys, moved a long way. Once we go through all 47 of those, I'm going to give you my 7, I think, or is it 8? 7 or 8 favorite trade targets, or I guess you could say trade names, guys, you should either buy or sell based on what's been going on lately and what I think the public perception is of those players. It's a semi-short week, but we got some huge movers, and we're going to reveal the best trades to pull off. Oh, remember to hit that like button. Almost forgot. Rate and subscribe. Subscribe being the big one. We are fast approaching 6,100 subs. I know, who cares? We did 6,000. Who cares about 6,100? Every little bit matters. Every time you guys hit a like button or a subscribe button or a comment or whatever, it just pushes it into a couple extra feeds and a few more people find Old Man Squad, and it's just a little bit closer that I get to being able to do this stuff for free for you guys forever. That's the goal. Grow fast enough where ad bucks from YouTube, from iTunes, from Spotify, from whatever, ad dollars can pay to make this a full-time career. And we're not that far off, by the way. Early numbers suggest we are teetering. It could get there, which is great because I will admit I wasn't certain. Anyway, keep helping. Let's get there together. I really would rather not have to change that. Here are the risers. This is not all of them. This is about half of them. I think there's like 28 risers, 19 fallers over the last week. Again, I say for the second time, heaven help us. Those that are color-coded, as you can see as I flip through them very fast, those watching on YouTube, the color-coded names are the ones that I think we can probably do something with. Okay? So stick with us. Here we go. Guys that moved up the board the most. Justin Champagnie, 65 slots up the board. He's not a sell high because you're not going to get anything for him. Wizards are also coming back, so we'll see how that thing goes. We're also going to fly through the names that I don't think have any real stories around them. Anfernee Simons is the second name on the list. Also, I'm going to try to highlight the names as I talk about them. Anfernee Simons, second name on the list. He moved 50 slots up the board. This is basically Simons catching up with where we thought he was going to be to begin with. Got off to an absolutely atrocious start. He was never going to be that bad. I think there was one show where I called him in a is it buy low enough kind of thing because people were drafting him at 75 or 80, which I wanted nothing to do with, given he's really kind of a punt build guy. And he was hovering around to the back edge of the top 200, which, yeah, like he's not going to be that bad. We knew that. But you were still going to have to pay, 90, 100 range to get him. And I wasn't ready to go that high. So if you could get him, whatever that was, 2-3 weeks back for, I don't know, 115 range guy, 120, that was sort of worth the shot. But anyway, now he's flying up the board. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. Jerami Sochan up 49 slots as the Spurs start to push their main guys back together. That's great. He has pushed himself from punt free throw player to you don't got to punt anything. You can use me anyway. Oh, you want to... That was bad. That was wrong key. I forgot to highlight his name. How did I do there? We already talked about Jeremy Sochan. I don't know why I highlighted his name now. Obi Toppin up 45 slots. He's on a crazy heater right now. And you guys know I don't like to chase heaters. So it'd be unusual for me to say to go ahead and try to play someone like Toppin. Again, you're not going to be able to sell high on him because nobody's going to give you anything for a waiver wire guy who's suddenly playing better for 2 weeks. But he's playing really well for the last 2 weeks. And so, if you wanted to ride that freight train, whatever. Jaden McDaniels up 44 slots. He goes through these very hot and very cold spells, depending on what the identity might be of the Wolves at a given week. I've fallen for it about a dozen times in the Jaden McDaniels career arc. And as soon as you think he's ready to roll, then he disappears again. So do with that as you see fit. I'm probably just leaving it alone. Before we get to Larry Nance Jr., who you guys know I'm super stoked about and requires 45 seconds of our time, BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. They've got the earliest odds. They've got in-game live betting. BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. They've got the largest selection on everything: football, basketball, college and pro, hockey, UFC, if that's your jam. Head to BetOnline today. Don't forget to use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. Larry Nance can make him dance because Larry Nance is the guy filling in for Onyeka Okongwu, and Larry Nance was amazing in that first fill-in game. He's now number 96 on the year in 18 minutes a game. Ridiculous level performance from Larry Nance Jr., who's up 43 slots over the last week from number 139 to number 96. That is just because of one game. He's going to move fast because he hasn't played in that many ball games. Is this a long-term thing? Absolutely not. He might get traded somewhere. Although the Hawks are playing relatively well. Maybe they like having him around as that third center / community leader. I love Larry Nance. That dude is great for fantasy and just seems genuinely like the nicest guy in the NBA. So hell yeah, fire him up as a short-term stream. Malcolm Brogdon is back from his short stint on the IL again, and it'll just be a matter of time before it happens another time. It's not a sell high because, again, you're not getting anything for any of these guys we talked about, but when Brogdon's healthy, he's a play. That's all you need to take away from that. Klay Thompson is up 33 slots. Luka Doncic is expected to miss another ball game at least, ruled out 24 hours in advance. So that makes me think he's actually not super duper close. And Klay is probably playable while that's going on. And if you can sell on Klay Thompson while Luka's out, you do it. I didn't put him on the sell high board because I don't think he's high enough for you to get what you'd want in a return for him. But this is what we talked about all preseason long. I don't know if some of you guys seem to have forgotten that this is what I was saying all preseason. Klay Thompson is a drop and play guy, meaning you can drop him and then you play him. And the way you play him is by dropping him in. It's almost like you drop. When a superstar is out, Klay's going to get enough shots to be fantasy relevant. When they're fully healthy, he's not. It's as simple as that. He's an injury replacement level guy. But there are people out there that see the name Klay Thompson, think he might be more than that. And so if you can catch him on a little bit of a heater, like it seems like he might get on here with Luka out, and Luka and Kyrie were both out on Thursday, this would be that opportunity. But again, I didn't highlight him because I don't think you're going to be able to do it yet. Dorian Finney-Smith is up 30 slots over the last week. And again, I just can't bring myself to really care that much about where Dorian Finney-Smith is. He's up to number 117. And yeah, over the last 2 weeks, he's been better. He's been number 70 over that stretch, mostly because he's been basically league average and everything. There is nothing that jumps off the page. 3-pointers are actually decent. He has 3 3-pointers a game over that span, but 11 points, 4.5 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, 50-80 splits, and basically no turnovers. I think he has 1 turnover over 4 games or something like that. Who cares? He is the king of the filler level players. I'll give him that. Shout out Dorian Finney-Smith for being the ruler of the filler section of your rank board, but nah. Josh Giddey up 29 slots, and then he got hurt. Oh, well. He was finally cashing in on the buy low. Paul George up 25 slots, also cashing in on the buy low. Austin Reaves up 24 slots, cashing in on the buy low. Lauri Markkanen up 23 slots and cashing in on the buy low. All four of these names that we just talked about, I've highlighted all four of them for the YouTubers, all were buy lows at some point on this podcast feed, and they're all steam training up the board. If Giddey doesn't get hurt, he probably keeps on going up the board. But PG, Reaves, Markkanen, those were all pretty easy calls. Let's keep going. Ivica Zubac up 20 slots, mostly because he just didn't take that many free throws over the last week. His rank is fully dependent on his foul shooting right now. It's good to see some of that stuff kind of coming together. Desmond Bane up 20 slots. Again, cashing in on the buy low. A lot of these guys are that. In fact, if you want to fast forward a tiny bit, Mikal Bridges up 15 slots over the last week, cashing in on a very minor buy low. Want to go even farther down the board? Tyrese Haliburton up 10 more slots, cashing in on a buy low. Jimmy Butler up 9 slots, cashing in on the buy low. We don't even need to talk about those guys because they all were buy lows that are finally leveling off. And it took more than 6 weeks to get there. It took 8.5. But the great leveling, it is upon us, friends and confidants. Let's go back to some of the other names in between. We're going to skip over the highlighted names. I want to give those guys an extra minute or two. Jamal Murray is up 17 slots. Again, there's almost a little bit of a sell high there when he can stay healthy for a few games in a row. I don't think you're quite at I can get something good back level yet. But if you could, then you should. Isaiah Hartenstein up 16 slots. That's not much. I mean, it's just like he's settling in. Ayo Dosunmu up 14. A lot of this was because Zach LaVine missed a couple of games, and now Giddey's missed a couple of games. He remains one of my favorite long-term plays for Chicago because he's one usage guy away on any given night from making a really nice fantasy splash. Giannis Antetokounmpo moved up 13 slots. It's actually remarkable that he's 9-cat top 50, despite being arguably the worst foul shooter by volume that like fantasy sports has ever known, pretty much, at 61.5%, 11 free throws a game. You got no shot. Almost any week you got no shot in that one, but he's so good in everything else that he's still a fourth rounder without the punt. Obviously, you're punting free throws with Giannis. And when we came into this season, I don't want to go too far down that path, but like you could have tried not to, but what's the point? Just punt them. Bilal Coulibaly up 12 slots. He's bounced back after that horrific shooting spell. LaMelo Ball, accidentally turned the page. LaMelo Ball is up 11 slots right now, which was kind of surprising. I didn't know, thinking about, did he have 11 slots to go up? The answer is turning out to be yes. He's been very good over the last week. Just posting big numbers, first round value. Mostly because the turnovers have been lower, because his percentages haven't been very good over that stretch. But the turnovers are only at around 2. I think he only has 4 turnovers in his last 2 games. He's sitting out a back-to-back right now. So, but that's cool. That's cool. Let's see where it all levels off with him. It feels like sort of an artificial bump on a couple of lower turnover games. Now let's talk about the 4 names that I've got as sell highs from this very large board of names we're talking about. First one is RJ Barrett. And we're not going to talk about him too much because we had a couple of guests that did the RJ Barrett spiel on the show earlier this week. And when you're thinking about what could happen next, Scotty Barnes is back. So I feel like everybody kind of knows that it's time to abandon ship on RJ. And it's going to limit your ability to get much back. The thing about Barrett is that you probably drafted him with a punt free throw in mind. And that's what he's been. The turnovers are needlessly high. The field goal percent is low, as you kind of expected as well. He's obviously a points league superhero with the 24 points, 7 boards, 6 assists, couple of 3-pointers, a little under a steal. All that stuff is somewhere between decent and excellent. But then you've got these big negative categories. So he's the big polarizing, can I punt this, punt that kind of thing. If you're not punting those things, this probably wasn't a guy who's on your team anyway. And if you are punting them, you may just take the hit and keep on going. So RJ is kind of like a DeAndre Ayton up 17 slots over the last week. It's not as though he's suddenly a big-time winner or anything like that. He's still number 87 overall. Over the last 2 weeks, he's right around that same marker, like mid-80s. Last 1 week, which is one game for him, he put up 15 and 13 with 5 defensive stats. That was good enough for a second-round valuation. But again, it's one game. So what are you trying to do? Well, how can I possibly call someone like that a sell high? The answer is because I think you just want to try to get off of DeAndre Ayton anytime he posts a good line. So look for other long-term viable centers that aren't that far away from Ayton on your rank board and see if you can swap them. See if you can get Ivica Zubac. See if you can get Rudy Gobert. See if you can get Miles Turner. You probably won't be able to. But scout it out. Someone's probably pretty annoyed with Gobert right now. Would you go down? Would I trade down for like a Derek Lively? Only if they included something else that was kind of useful and I had a player that I wanted to drop. But hey, maybe you get one more good game out of DeAndre Ayton and he pushes himself up into the 70s in rank. And then you really do have a case to say, give me Rudy Gobert, who's frankly a little bit more of a buy low. Jerami Grant is the same damn story. Same team, same story. Jerami Grant is up about a dozen slots. What's the number? 13? Is that what we're talking about here? Sorry, we did Barrett, then we did Ayton, and now we're doing Jerami Grant. He's up 14 slots over the last week, and now he's hovering right around the edge of the top 100 again. I'm not going to say that this is as good as it gets, but it's not that far away from being as good as it gets. He's top 85 over the last 5 ball games, and that's enough to try to move him. Try to get someone back who's in that 85 to 90 range. See if you can get the hell off of the Jerami Grant experience whenever it's possible. I don't know that you need to necessarily aim for shoot the moon or anything like that. Just see if anybody around there is movable. I would take Andrew Wiggins. I would take Malik Monk. I would take I don't know about Yves Missi. It's close. Yves Missi's close. But I do Sochan. I might. I really might. Keegan Murray. There you go. Go get Keegan Murray. He's quietly actually been not bad over the last 2 weeks, like top 70 range. I don't think the person who has him has even noticed. And the last sell high is Domantas Sabonis, who's been amazing. So I want to make sure that everybody hears that first part of this. He's up to number 7 in 9-cat on the season right now because the field goal percent has come around. Everything is up where you thought it would be, except he's shooting almost 82% at the free throw line. So he's wiped out one of his big negatives. He's actually making a 3-pointer per game this year, and he's durable as hell. So, I mean, there are plenty of reasons to hang on. The question is, could you trade Domantas Sabonis and get a different first-rounder back? Or maybe even a fringe first-rounder, like a Damian Lillard or a Steph Curry or something like that? The answer is maybe, maybe not. And then it's kind of like, well, is there even a point? Because you probably drafted Sabonis not just to be like, oh, I like Domantas Sabonis. Click. It was probably, here's who I have in the first round. Sabonis is someone who pairs really well. Or I'm planning on punting blocks. Here's Domantas Sabonis. Don't blow up your team build just to move an early round pick because you can. It's basically a because you can situation. You got to make sure you get something back that's worth your while, as with all trades. Let's look at the fallers. I managed to fit all of these on one page. Congratulations to me. There's only 18 of them, I think I said. Here are the names that we're not going to spend a bunch of time talking about. And then again, we'll come back around to the other ones. Nick Richards down 40 slots. I don't have anything to do with that, dude. I mean, except for like a 1-game stream here and there when Mark Williams is resting. Robert Williams down 38 slots. Blazers centers are healthy again. So I talked about him on the show on Friday morning. I don't see how you hold him in a head-to-head league. I wish you could, but Ayton's back and Klingen's back and Time Lord's back. So Robert Williams, you're basically cooked. I mean, Roto, you could stick him on a bench. I don't know if you need to. Rui Hachimura. Lakers have LeBron back, so Rui is no more. Aaron Gordon down 21 or 29 slots. Rui was down 31, by the way. Aaron Gordon down 29. He was never going to hold where he was at the beginning of the year. If you're a punt free throw team, he's actually approaching a buy low, but I still don't really want him. So, nah. Jonas Valanciunas, he's a minimal upside play. Even if he gets traded somewhere, he's probably not playing more than 20 minutes. So we're talking about a guy who, like 85 range is the best case scenario. And same with the guy right behind him in Mike Conley, who I'm fully aware that for weeks I've said, see if we can give him that opportunity to just kind of like slide up the board a little bit at a time. For both JV and Conley, I just think there's more interesting guys out there. Even if they do start to inch towards the edge of the top 100, what's the point? Let's have fun. Let's do something else that's more fun. Donovan Klingen is almost the same story as Robert Williams. He's down 22 slots, again, because the Blazers are fully healthy at center all of a sudden. For Klingen, at least you kind of know that eventually this year they're going to hand him the keys and he's going to go get you 14 rebounds and 6 blocks in a game, and it's going to be freaking nuts. So, like, I get it. I don't know, again, how you hold on to someone who's going to give you 4 points and 4 boards nightly and head-to-head in the short term. It's really hard. It's basically like a 0. So can you hold on? Probably not. But, ooh, boy, there is a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. D'Angelo Russell down 21 slots. He did have a better ball game immediately before us recording this show. He's a guy, much like with Klingen, I'm like trying to figure out a way to hold. At least with D'Lo, you're getting 12 points and 4.5, 5 assists and a couple of 3-pointers a game. And yeah, I know he's hurting you in field goal, but free throw is pretty good. A little less than a steal. It's bad, but it's active stash level bad. Where with Klingen, like if he's putting up numbers like he did on Thursday, that's not even really active. That's like a hemi-active stash. Barely. Draymond Green down 20 slots after he put together the Tony Snell line of the decade with 0s and everything and 4 turnovers. Yeesh. Well, that'll knock anybody's rank down a whole bunch, but yeah, you're going to hold there. I don't really want to. I mean, I guess Draymond is a buy low, but also I just don't think he's that good. He's a punt points guy really only and was since the start of draft time. Daniel Gafford is down 18 slots. He's not a buy low. He's a sell guy. Sell low. Sell when he has a game. Dude, he's losing minutes as we speak. Brandon Miller down 14 slots. This is always going to happen. Like, there were things he was doing that were over his head. Al Horford down 14 slots because Porzingis is around. Porzingis himself is down 12 slots because he kind of came out of the gates all gangbusters like. And Dyson Daniels down 13 slots. And I think he's finally starting to slide back towards the overall. Because, like, over the last week or two, Dyson is outside the top 100. But if you're looking at, like, I don't think he's going to be an outside the top 100 guy. It's pulling him back towards what the final rank always seemed like it ought to be. We just didn't know how he would get there. Was it going to be, 4 weeks that were a little bit slow, or like 2 weeks that were farts? And then all of a sudden it was just like boink, boink, and he drops 2 rounds, and then he's where you thought he would be. Let's talk about the 5 names that I have highlighted on this chart. One of them is Khris Middleton, who's down 61 slots, which shouldn't surprise anybody because guys come out of the gate and they have adrenaline. 1 game, 2 games, whatever it is. They've got all the energy in the world. Most of their bodies feel great. The part of their body they were working on healing is loose and they can push it. And, it recovers and blah, blah, blah. And then there's a couple games they get under their belt. And all of a sudden, their body starts to feel tired. The conditioning issue pops up. The things that were repaired maybe take a little longer to heal because they're sore. And so there's always this same thing. Guys coming back from injury. They have 1 or 2 games where it's like, wow. And then reality for a while. And we're in the reality stretch for Middleton, where, again, he's only playing 21 minutes a game. And he's averaging 7 points, 6 assists, 1.5 steals, and he's shooting a robust 26% from the field right now. It's going to get better. But for folks that waited on Khris Middleton and drafted him like a bunch of boners, they're probably getting annoyed because they were like, oh, thank goodness, Middleton's back. Now we're going to be okay. He's been bad, as I think we all assumed he would be. But it's not going to be this way forever. He's going to shake off the rust. He's going to get his wind back. His limbs are going to loosen up a little bit. He's going to settle into a groove at some point. I don't know exactly when that's going to be, but whoever sat on him saw those first couple of games was like, great, I only need him to get to like 22 minutes and then we're good to go. Nah, that was adrenaline level, Khris. And now you're in, oh no, I'm so tired level, Khris. And the middle is going to come. So it's up and it's down and then it's settle. See if you can get Middleton for a top 100 kind of guy, understanding that you're still looking at another week or two where he's going to be probably a huge pain in the butt. He might be a pain in the butt the whole year, but he'll be a productive pain in the butt starting probably around the start of 2025. So look at your board, find someone you've got that's in that 100 range that has a little bit of name recognition, but you don't think is going to move all that much, and see if you can use them to get Khris Middleton. Devin Vassell, down 28 slots. This one is a show that I'll admit is a day too late. He got pushed into the starting lineup, and he had himself a big ball game. He was down much more, actually, than 28 slots before that nice game as a starter. He was down like 45 or 50 before that. But again, it's possible that somebody maybe missed that last box score if you're in a league that's not hyper competitive. See if you can go get Devin Vassell for someone in that same range that we were just talking about on Middleton, because both those guys, Vassell in particular, should be able to pass that. Naz Reid had a really bad week, but so did the Wolves. The Wolves have been bad. Naz fell from right around the edge of the top 100 to number 127 over the last week. His field goal percent has been trending down. His minutes have been trending down. It's just been kind of ugly for centers in Minnesota on a team that also has been very healthy. It's kind of the same story on Amen Thompson. At some point, this Wolves team is going to have a player that misses a game due to injury. In a perfect world, that player would be Rudy Gobert, because then Naz Reid could step in and play a whole bunch of center minutes, and we know he goes big. Right now, he's clinging to 12-team value while playing the bare minimum that we expected him to play. He has not had the someone else's hurt bump yet. He's still around 25 minutes per game. But on the season, our expectation was more like 27. And that was mostly because part of the year, 10, 15, 20, 25 games, we assumed that he would play more like 29 minutes a night when someone in that front court was out. It hasn't happened yet, so you haven't seen the minute bump up. He also goes higher usage when he's in that slot, because he doesn't just get forced out by other guys. You take a usage guy off the board. That's big for him. Randall being out would be big for him. Ant being out would be big for him. There's a lot of ways that Naz Reid and Amen Thompson are basically the same fantasy player this year. They're ranked right next to each other. Naz is 127. Amen Thompson is 129. Naz playing 25 minutes. Amen Thompson 27. They both are scoring exactly 11.8 points per game. And they both are waiting on someone in the starting lineup for their teams to miss a GD game. Soon, maybe. Miles Bridges down 15 slots over the last week. Every time we think he can't go lower, he goes lower, baby. Miles is shooting 42.5% from the field. He's averaging 0.9 combined defensive stats. He's not a great defensive stats guy to begin with, but he ain't this bad. And I would predict that his defensive stats in particular probably inch back towards what they were last year, maybe the year before. 0.9 steals, 0.5 to 0.8 range on blocks. Even if the steals only come back up to like 0.7 instead of 0.9 or 0.75, we're still way low on those. So the defensive stats are down. The field goal percent is way down. I expect that to get better as the year goes, although admittedly, percentage of three-pointers is too high right now. His three-point shooting percentage is down. His rebounds are pretty normal, and I would hope that his minutes trend up if he can stay healthy. So again, it's that same kind of thing. We just talked about it with Khris Middleton and Devin Vassell. You're trying to take somebody that has some 100 range name recognition and turn them into one of these three guys. Or hell, throw Derek Lively in that mix, although he's been good lately, so he'll be a tougher one to buy low on. But who else is in there that you could make that pivot? You probably can't do it with a guy that's lower on the board, but you could try. I would have said Keegan Murray, but I think he's more of a buy low. I don't think Lou Dort's going to get it done. Royce O'Neal probably won't get it done. Maybe somebody wants to take a shot on Dennis Schroeder. Goga Batadze before the Magic get healthy. Grady Dick. Jabari Smith Jr., who is currently, by the way, benefiting from Tari Eason missing some basketball games. Just something to keep in the back of your mind. So there's a bunch of names there between 90 and 125, 130. And you could see if you can just sort of change one, use a Presto Changeo spell and turn one of the other ones into Middleton, Vassell, Nas, or Miles Bridges. And then the last name on our buy low 5-pack here is ranked a little bit higher on the board. That's Rudy Gobert, who's down 14 slots, mostly because the last Wolves game, he was terrible. He was down a couple. He was down like 3 or 4 before that. That's the one that pushed him down another 2/3 of a round. And I'm not a big Rudy Gobert guy. I think you guys know that. When he was going like near 50, I thought that was too early in drafts. I was perfectly fine taking him near 60. It just felt like kind of a safe play in that range. And that's kind of where he's been. Free throws a bit better than expected. Rebounds a bit worse. That's kind of where we're at with Rudy Gobert. Like to see the rebounds trend back up a little bit. I just think as the Wolves work on trying to figure out what the hell they are, you'll probably see the block number maybe come up just a little itty bit. The rebounds should come up a little bit for Gobert. We're not talking about a flying leap forward, but we are talking about a small one. Probably from 71. He's ranked at 71 right now. He probably moves back up into the 60s, maybe the late 50s. He might just bounce around close to where he is, but people are annoyed with him right now because they probably spent a little bit too much draft capital on him. So, and I know that this is a weird one to pull off. You could maybe even do a Malik Monk. He's been super hot lately. I would try to aim higher, actually, before settling for that. Mikal Bridges has been on a little bit of a heater. Maybe you could turn a hot Mikal Bridges into a cold Rudy Gobert. If you could get off of not injured at the moment, but he will be. Bradley Beal, DeAndre Ayton. These are guys you can maybe abandon ship on. Andrew Wiggins, if someone's getting frustrated there. I think Ivica Zubac turning into Gobert would actually be a good decision. Both bad free throw shooters. Zubac scoring more. Rudy has more blocks. That's the way that's almost always going to be. If Tobias Harris has a good game, you might be able to turn him into Gobert. Austin Reaves. There's a lot of guys you could use, I think, to get Rudy Gobert. And again, as much as I don't really want Rudy Gobert, he can be had cheaper than his current rank because people are annoyed with him because he had a really bad ball game. Overall, he's been disappointing. He's just sort of like an eminently unlikable basketball player for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't care about it. I don't like or dislike any of these guys. But other people seem to out there. And so, I mean, that makes him accessible to you as a trade target. Quick recap on the names on today's board. RJ Barrett, DeAndre Ayton, Jerami Grant, Domantas Sabonis are your week-on-week sell highs. Khris Middleton, Devin Vassell, Naz Reid, Miles Bridges are your buy low guys that are sitting 100 or later. Rudy Gobert is your buy low guy who's currently in that sort of 6th to 7th round range where I think you might even be able to get him slightly cheaper than his current rank. Whereas with a guy like Middleton, Vassell, Reid, Bridges, you probably have to pay just a little higher than what their current rank is. And frankly, I think I'm probably okay with that. Thanks for watching, everybody. This was your in-season rank shifter, hot, cold, golf ball whacker guy episode of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball for week 9. I don't care if it's period 8. Get out of here with your weird periods, Yahoo Fantasy Basketball. This is the 9th week that the basketball season has been in effect. That's the number I track. I use a regular old-fashioned calendar. It has 7 days in a week, and I count them off, and then that tells me what week we're in. So Yahoo's screwy numbers can buzz right off. Weekend review show is next here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. That's a great reason to hit the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Leave that comment if you feel so inclined. And obviously, of course, hit that like button on your way out. Talk to me over on Twitter at Dan Bespris. It is a must. I say this over and over again. You cannot beat an intermediate or competitive fantasy basketball league without being piped in on the news as it happens. I know that Twitter is a hellscape. I'm fully aware of that. Just follow the fantasy basketball stuff you need. I'm one of them, I hope, at Dan Bespris. I'll see you guys over there, and we'll see you for the weekend review show coming up in just a few hours. Adios.